Well, thank you for staying with us. The question is, well, that song is talking about dance like the king.
And show me your color.
That's just a sample. Come on. Our guest is, of course, as you've seen in the song, Dr. Sid. He is from Delta State, born and raised in Lagos. His mother, a fashion designer, and father, Justice Asiri, an actor.
Was.
Yes, he was an actor. This is what we consider inside studio, so, okay?
He's just showing off to us.
I'm always working.
Oh, you're always working. Okay,
Yeah,
good to have you here. Well,
I'm honored to be here.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would have preferred you to be here, and not here across the sea. But anyway, I'm going to forgive you for now. You are hereby subpoenaed to show up here physically the next time we have you here. However, well, it's been a while. It would seem that no one hasn't quite heard from Dr. Sid as we used to. What's going on?
Yeah, well, I took, life is all about progress and changes. And for me, I think it was time to pivot into something else. So I've been doing music for over 20 years. And I've always had a life plan to transition into movies and television. So, after doing 20 years of music, I was like, I think I'd achieved almost everything I wanted to achieve in music. Won awards, I've performed at shows, I've had #1 records, and I think it was time to move on into something else. In 2015, I went to film school in Los Angeles, and I've always wanted to make a feature film and to follow, obviously, in my dad's footsteps and carry on his legacy in Hollywood.
Took you a while to do that.
It did. I think for me, what's more important than doing something is doing something well. And I've always been a big advocate for education. I think people need to learn. No matter what you're doing, you should have some form of education, either formal or informal, in the field you're trying to get into. So after going to film school in 2015, it was a lot of learning for me because obviously the way things work in Los Angeles is very different from the way it works in Nigeria. So I had to go through a process of learning and adapting the knowledge I'd gained in LA to apply in Nigeria.
Interesting. Why didn't you go to Bombay? Don't answer that one for now. Okay. Well, so what's the transition been like for you? Well, right there you are in front of a microphone, which you've used, as you said, as an instrument for 20 years. So,
yes.
What's the transition been like for you? What necessitated the transition?
No, like I said, it's just natural progress. I mean, I'm not the young man I was when I was jumping on stage 20 years ago.
Well, you can say that for yourself, but Tubaba is no longer. It's not different.
But Tubaba is not jumping on the stage anymore like that. If you really
yeah, but he's still hugging the microphone. I'm just saying,
Yeah, I know. Just for me, my trajectory is different. You know? I'm into a lot of things. So I'm into esports and gaming. I'm into film and television. I own my own record label. So instead of hogging the microphone, I'm releasing new artists to take on the legacy to a next level and give back to a new generation of
just
artists.
Say you are a serial entrepreneur and you'll be humble.
Try.
Okay. So talk about this transition. What's the transition been like for you?
Awesome. I mean, it's also the most challenging part is having to explain to people why you're not doing what they know you for. I think, Nigerians are very used to putting people in a box and not opening to see them change or transition into something else. So when I say I'm no longer doing music actively, everybody looks at me as if I'm crazy. But I'm like, no, I'm doing something else. The same way you followed me for music, follow me for this. And right now, the most important thing for me is my movie, which just came out. And I'm really excited. I'm proud of the work that I put into that. And I want the whole world and all my fans that follow me in music to enjoy what I've created as well.
Now tell us, you have jettisoned dentistry altogether?
So, I'm one of those guys that can't just leave something totally. So I don't practice as a dentist anymore, but I do have the Dr. Sid Foundation, which works very closely with Smile 360 and Project Smile to give people access to premium dental health care as a charity that I'm involved in. So still have to dabble in that a little bit.
Wow. You certainly are a man of many parts. So just give us a list of all the things that you are now. You're a dentist.
So number one, I'm a
non-practicing
father.
dentist.
Non-practicing dentist. I think
Musician.
number one for me is a father, musician. I'm a record label executive. I own an esports team. I own an esports tournament organizing company. I'm building a fintech app. I'm a movie director and producer.
You definitely don't want to be a delegate.
That's nice.
Definitely.
That's nice.
Okay, now so this movie thing that you segued into, tell us about it. Did it catch you unawares? I mean, you talked about the shock therapy of sorts that it gave you because it was a completely different learning altogether. Learning in Los Angeles and not Bombay. I'm picking
so
up on that. Yeah.
I know you have to explain this Bombay thing later, but I was humbled when I came back to Nigeria. I'm a guy who sees unicorns and rainbows, and when I came back to Nigeria, he showed me Okada and Molue. So you have to just understand that it's a different environment, and the nuances are different, and how you approach filmmaking is very different. So I took time. I directed a few music videos. I did a few short films to sort of get my feet wet. But I had this script that I put out since about 2017. It was written by a writer in America called Mike Shelton. And I felt the story just resonated with Nigeria, and it was very relatable. So we got a few writers together, modified it for the Nigerian audience, and took time developing the script so it would relate and resonate with us in Africa. Last year, I got a call from Film One Entertainment, and they said, look, the script I sent to them like 3 years ago, that they're ready to do it now, that am I interested? And it was a co-production that we struck together, and the process was just amazing. It was everything I envisioned it to be and a little bit more. The first thing you tell you in film school is that everything that can go wrong, that could possibly go wrong, will go wrong. And that definitely happened. But I believe I had a very, very strong team around me. My director of photography is Nora Awolowo. She is probably the youngest and only female director of photography to make a film in cinemas in Nigeria, which is groundbreaking for us in the movie as well. So we had a very strong team, and with the backing of Film One and Zero Gravity Studios, I think we did something that was really, really great. The reviews have been amazing.
Well, I can just imagine. Film One is not a small label. It's not a small platform.
No, it's not. I mean, they are probably the premium content curation platforms and distribution companies in Nigeria. And with what they've put together and how they approached this process, they gave me enough leeway to create what I wanted to create, but still had the experience to say, you know what, you need to do it this way and do it that way because of the audience. And based on our experience with distribution, this is what people like. So, it was a very, very symbiotic partnership, and I look forward to making more products with them.
Now, you talked about your learning in Los Angeles, and you compared unicorns and whatever it is to Okada, which is just the way it is. I referenced Bombay. You probably have referenced the tricycle. Now, I talked about Bombay the other time because India is the world's foremost movie-making nation. I mean, you probably grew up on one or two of those Indian movies, and they're sing songs yourself. I wonder if you had that in mind. But what are the things that you would say are peculiar about Nigeria's movie industry that has justified your interest since you got into it?
Oh, I think Nigerians and Africans in general have very rich stories. We have very, very rich stories and a very rich culture. And we have an audience that's eager to consume content. I just think that we have to we have to improve the ways that we communicate said content. And for me, it's literally just about joining this amazing network and ecosystem that has been built by so many people over the years, and adding my own quota to make it better. And hopefully one day we'll overtake Bollywood. Have
you always wanted to be a filmmaker?
Yes, to be honest, if I'm going to be very honest with myself, yes, I have. I mean, following my dad to sets as a young boy, I love the process of filmmaking. I love the process of make-believe. I feel the power that film has to change perception and put questions in people's minds as to how things could possibly be. is a really powerful tool. It was one of the reasons why I got into music in the first place. Just the ability to affect people's emotions and people's mind states with the content that you create was something that was too appealing to pass up. And I've always wanted to act and be behind the cameras, and I'm doing those two things. I'm somebody who chases my dreams and I live them, and then I create more dreams and move on to the next.
Well, it's only natural that you should be an actor, isn't it?
I guess so.
Yeah, well. Any other siblings in acting or entertainment?
I think my younger brother should probably try to dabble, but he's too involved in oil and gas to enter into entertainment.
But that's big enough for him. I mean, he also doesn't want to be a delegate, obviously. But
no.
speak to that industry issue, that we raised the other time as well, because it's one thing to have the interest, it's another thing to get into it. And whether you stay in there or not, that's another kettle of fish altogether. But you talked about Africans having very, very rich stories. That's one thing. Telling that story, and that's another thing altogether. What are the challenges that you had to encounter in getting this done? In the first place, it's a transition field for you, and you have, setting your feet on the ground solidly now. What are the rivers you had to cross, I's you had to dot, the T's you had to cross, the challenges you had to contend with to get to where you are?
So I think one of the biggest challenges in the first place is obviously getting the people who have the funding to believe in your idea. I think Nigerian corporates and people with money are very, they don't take chances on ideas. Everybody likes to jump on a moving train. Nobody wants to be a risk taker or to support the upcoming guy, because that's the only way innovation occurs, and that's how people grow. You can't come and eat the cassava when it is fully grown. You can, but it's better if you were part of the people that put the water and the seed and watched it grow.
But you blame them?
I do.
Really?
I do. Business in any manner or form is a risk, and it's an investment. You assess your risk, but at the end of the day, you also have to have the ability to see potential. So that's one of the biggest problems. We don't see potential.
Sometimes it's perhaps not the problem of seeing the potential, but the environment in which the potential is existing could be very fluid and unpredictable. Maybe that's what the investor is trying to protect.
No, but we are the environment. We are the environment. If you think about the way the music industry grew, it was an unpredictable environment, but we, the stakeholders in the music industry, built the music industry from scratch without help from anyone, and then people jumped on it. But you can imagine if people had assisted from the beginning where the music industry would be. One of the biggest issues with making film in Nigeria is funding. It's very difficult to find funding, and after you make a product, there was I want to support you or jump on it.
And that is if the product is good enough to jump on.
Yes. But that's what I'm saying is business in itself, investment is a risk. I'm a serial investor myself. Yeah. I'm invested in products that have failed. I'm invested in things that have been successful. But at the end of the day, I was part of the growth process. And I can beat my chest and say that I am part of some people's legacies, which is important as well. Anybody in the West in the world that's coming to invest in Nigeria or anywhere else is still going to be taking a risk. If we look at Nigeria as a whole, the Nigerian environment is fluid and unpredictable, but are we going to say people shouldn't invest in Nigeria? No, we're going to still try to encourage people to be part of it. Some people will be successful and some people wouldn't. I think also to talk about the industry, one of the most difficult part was also the expertise and work ethic. Sometimes it's difficult to find people that have the same work ethic as you. But I was very lucky with having a team that sort of gelled with the way that I like to make films.
Okay. Very, very cheering things that one has heard now from you, and gratifying enough, you have been in the entertainment sector, so you know how it feels and all. Well, you talked about the music industry and how the individuals had to grow it to something that everybody wants to jump on. What are those things that you think, from your little experience and your learnings, need to be done in the movie industry in Nigeria to make it, to at least raise its stakes as close as possible? Hollywood, they have an industry that is established, that is standing well. They have gradations for their movies, ratings, and all those things. How do we get to that point without necessarily, playing around?
So I think for me, in this process, one of the first things I've noticed is that we don't have enough cinema houses. We don't have enough what you call viewing centers where people can actually go to consume your content. So when you look at the numbers, with the number of cinema houses available and the amount of money you need to produce a film, your budget of production is sort of capped because you can't take a risk with the amount of people that are going to be able to see your film. So I think one of the first things we need to do is invest in infrastructure. And then obviously for me, one of the things I've also noticed that we need to give people in the creative industry, not just movies, film and television, some form of rebates or incentives. There are so many people that want to get into but can't because the entry level is quite high. There are so many funds that have been created for the entertainment industry, but to access it, entry level people can't access it. You have to be a top dog or whatever. So I think, just balancing the way people can access funding to be able to create. Some people have brilliant ideas but don't have the funding. We need to be able to create an enabling environment for creators to be able to do what they need to do. But obviously in the movie distribution business, the most important thing is to be able to get people in more areas of the country access to cinemas where they can actually watch the content that's being created. That in itself will increase the revenue generation, which will increase the budgets and the level of production and the production value that creators can put into their film. Because if I want to spend 250 million making a film, I'm not going to make it back in the cinemas because we don't have enough. So if I had enough cinemas that would give me a projection that I would make at least 200 back, I knew I'd make the remaining off ancillary sales from the digital streaming platforms. But when you don't have that marketplace, you're sort of capped with what you can do and how much you can invest.
But Sid, wouldn't you say that culture is coming back gradually? That cinema culture?
It is coming back gradually. There are lots of people who, I remember as a kid going to a local cinema house in my area in the streets to watch Indian movies or action movies. And that culture is coming back, but we just need to create more marketplaces. And because going to the cinema is not necessarily about watching the film in itself, it's an experience that you want to go and share with people or loved ones, or just be in an environment of a lot of people watching a film together. And we need to create more centers for people to be able to experience that.
Yeah, what was your experience directing your first movie? What was it like?
It was everything that I dreamed of. I mean, one of the things I learned, early on is that the energy of the director sort of dictates the pace of the entire film. So it was very important for me to keep my energy up and be positive and let the entire cast and crew feed from that. But it was also a quid pro quo situation where I would give sort of my pointers on how I felt the scene should go, but also give the actors liberty to express themselves and express the characters the way that they saw fit. So it was a good balance, and I think at the end of the day, the finished product basically showed what we intended. It was such an amazing experience to work with experienced actors. I mean, Binta Ayo-Mogaji is one of the most brilliant people I've ever seen. Yep. Toko Olunwonio gave an amazing performance. Timini Ebuso comes with it. He's one of those people that when you're in the scene with him, if you don't elevate your performance, you're going to feel left out. Obi Madrebuna, who is our lead actor, he delivered this role beyond my expectation. And I'm just blessed to have been put together with this team that brought my dream to life.
Tell us what this movie is about as we close.
So, I mean, the movie is it's called The Order of Things. It's literally a story about a young man who has no intention of getting married or getting involved in romantic relationships. But his younger brother has just proposed to his fiancée, and the mom won't allow the younger brother to get married unless he gets married. So we go on a series of dates and experiences as this lead character is trying to help his younger brother get married and then in the process find love. But it also begs the question that, is there an order? Should there be an order of things in everything? And okay. Sometimes you just have to let things go and slide with it.
I'm happy there is no scene in that movie that says, if you don't have a PVC, I won't marry you. Dr. Sydney Esiri, thank you so much for your time this morning, and we can only wish you the best, as you go on in your newfound field in entertainment. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Please, everybody, go watch The Order of Things. It's in cinema right now.
Okay.